So I feel like in the last couple of days, we have had a lot of free agency, confirmations happen, a lot of trades officially get done, all of the above, but the trade news has kind of cooled down over the last couple of days now that we are, seeing things actually start to happen. The ball's been moving for a lot of teams and whatnot. But in saying that, one thing popped up the other day, which I just felt like I had to talk about because it could completely change the trade period, especially if this move, does happen, because I think it'd be genuinely shocking, but also you're looking at the draft completely changing as well, because for those of you who haven't heard, Essendon has reportedly contacted both West Coast and Richmond with a desire to acquire a top pick. West Coast currently hold pick 1 and Richmond with picks 2 and 3. Essendon sit with picks 4 and 5. As it sits right now, the Eagles' compo for Oscar Allen is likely to slot in at pick 2, thus moving all the picks back. So, to kind of summarize it, West Coast have 1 and 2, Richmond have 3 and 4, and then Essendon obviously have 5 and 6. Now, the thing and the reason why this is happening, the reason Essendon are pushing so hard to move up in this draft is because from what we are hearing, there is a clear 4 or so best players who are not academy. Again, this year's draft is so compromised by academy and father-sons. It's literally a joke, and every single list manager knows about it. Like, the list managers aren't even keeping it quiet. Like, I was watching Blair Hartley, Richmond's list manager, the other day talking about it, and he was flat out like, look, we're assessing every option. This is a very compromised draft. It's a situation that we've never been in and no club has ever been in, just because we've never seen 5 or 6 of the best 10 players already be tied to another team. Like, that is just so crazy. But if you take out the Zeke Ewelins, the Dylan Pattersons, the Daniel Annabels, etc., of those players who are the best and are already tied to a bunch of different teams, you're only left with a couple of guys. You're left with, Willem Dersma and Cooper Duff-Tyler. Those are the two standouts that everyone has been talking about all year. Both of those guys are pretty much a lock, I think, to go to West Coast at this point. Whether West Coast fans are in love with the idea or not, just because one of them's a Dersma, and we know that Dersma's track record in the AFL hasn't been that great so far. We know this is official, and it has been said that they are basically already closing in on those guys at pick 1 and 2, and a lot would have to change for them to not pick those guys. And then you get to, well, who's after that? And that's the big question, and it might legitimately come down to how teams actually are assessing the draft and how teams are grading the players and how the players are performing under those other teams' eyes. And the big one to watch is how Richmond think they are performing, because Richmond have picks 3 and 4 and will be moving on from those other 2 guys that West Coast probably take. Now, I do expect West Coast and Richmond to pick a bunch of these academy players, which will push their picks down. But for the purpose of this video, we're of course not going to worry about it. Like, there's really no point bringing up what if Richmond pick Daniel Annabelle at 3 and then their picks get moved to 4 and 5. It really doesn't matter, and it doesn't change, what the goal is of this video at all. But as I just said though, outside of Dersma and Duff-Tyler, it comes down to a question of who are you asking? Who is the next best player in this draft? Who are the next best 2, 3, and 4 players in this draft? And if I had to say one that I think Richmond will be looking at, and one that I definitely know Essendon will be looking at, that does happen to be Sullivan Roby. Of course, some of you guys may not have even heard of that name, because Sullivan Roby is actually the biggest bolter that I believe we have ever seen in AFL history. To kind of sum up Sullivan Roby in a short little way is that 10 games ago, 8 games or so before finals, Sullivan Roby couldn't get a game. He wasn't getting a game. He was playing for his local club, and he couldn't crack into the Eastern Rangers team. This was also a guy who in under 16s was cut from the Dandenong Stingrays team. But when he got his chance after dominating for his local team, he never looked back, and after every single game, Sullivan Roby got better and better and put up video game level numbers, averaging over 20 disposals and a goal a game at one stage. To the point where when finals came around, you could argue Sullivan Roby was the best entire player out of every single player in the finals. This guy was putting up the craziest stats, which not only moved him into the top 10 of the draft by the time he got in the finals, but with the finals coming around, him dominating and just looking like the best player in the under 18s, he's now moved up to, I think, a projected top 5 pick. So teams are all over him. He was originally a forward who's now been playing a lot of midfield as well. Easily a guy who will average you 20 plus disposals a game with a goal or two every single game. I mean, in the finals, if I remember right, it was something like 24 disposals and 2 goals a game. Legit freaking AFL 26 numbers this dude was putting up. Absolutely insane. You got a team like Richmond who are looking for the best available and the high ceiling, the most talented guy. Sullivan Roby looks exactly that player. But the thing is that Essendon, from all reports and rumours around town, Essendon are in love with Sullivan Roby, and they really, really want to get him, and they believe he'll be one of the best players in the game one day, and they believe that he will be the future of their club. So this is where it's all kind of coming out. Essendon have picks 5 and 6, and they are essentially saying to Richmond, we want pick number 3 because we believe there is that much of a distance between maybe Sullivan Roby and the next guy, which there could be. After Sullivan Roby, you get into the, this guy could be a very good player in the game, but he could also be a decent role player. And you're looking at the Sam Grills, the Cummings of the world, the bloody, I don't even know. I was going to say Lockie Doverston or Noah Hibbins-Hargreaves, but even those guys have fallen down in the mock draft as of late. And that's the thing. Other than Sullivan Roby, who's clearly jumped in the top 5, everyone else continuously moves up and down, and no one really knows where they're ranked. So the thinking of this, and the thinking of why I believe Essendon are going to be doing this and offering Richmond this deal, is because they will be saying to themselves, we could go to the draft and take a bloke at pick 5 and 6, and we may take 2 guys that we think are just going to be your quality role players in the game. Like in most drafts at 5 and 6, you want to get a star. But in this year's draft, which is very weak and compromised, you're probably not going to get that. So they are saying, we want to trade 5 and 6. We want to go to pick 3 because we believe this is the difference between getting 2 guys who are going to be role players to us getting a star. And in any draft in the history of the game, if a team offered 5 and 6 for pick 3, you're taking that in a heartbeat because that is the dumbest trade ever. But in this year's trade period, if Essendon were to come up to Richmond and be like, we want pick 3 and a future second, and we'll give you 5 and 6. I mean, Richmond are going to consider it, but Essendon, more importantly, are going to look at that just off the ability. If they think Sullivan Roby is that guy, they will take him. And it's also like, if West Coast decide that they want Sullivan Roby and a Dersma or a Duff Tytler falls through, one of those guys could also be perfect for Essendon as well. And it's why this is currently being discussed. So it is a tough one. If I was Richmond and I got offered pick 5 and 6 for pick 3 and a future first, and a future second, sorry, I would almost decline that. And I know that just sounds crazy. In any other year, that would be the dumbest thing ever. In any other year, if an AFL YouTuber said that, you'd probably be like, what the, is this guy all there in the head? But the ability for Sullivan Roby to be a star, I think is very, very high. And if you don't take him and you do get 5 and 6, the players who will be available by then, it could be, it could be a Cumming, or it could be some other guys that we don't know if they're going to be stars. We haven't seen, or I haven't seen enough just yet to know. But maybe these AFL teams have. Maybe Richmond are more confident on a guy like Cumming being a star than Essendon are. And that's why Essendon desperately want to move up, because they believe Sullivan Roby will be a star, but they don't believe these other guys will. Like, there's a whole entire situation where Richmond, maybe trade away Roby, Sullivan Roby, and they get 5 and 6 back, and they do take Cumming, but then at 6 they're like, holy shit, who else do we take? And maybe they take like a Doverston guy who is just going to be an above average small forward. Like, we don't know. We knew last year with the top 10 picks, all of them were going to be stars, and all of them have already been very quality players. We don't really know this year. And I'm just saying this as a public fan that we don't know. People at Richmond may believe differently. People at Essendon may be believing differently. We really don't know. There could be a bunch of people at Richmond who unanimously think that Sam Cumming is going to be a star and whoever else at pick 6 could be a star. We don't know. But if I was Richmond, I would be looking at taking Sullivan Roby at pick number 3, and I'd be looking to take Sam Grill, I think, at pick number 4. I think those are the clear pick 3s and 4s in my opinion. If you do trade away 3, that doesn't stop you from taking Sam Grill, especially if Essendon want Sullivan Roby. You can still take Sam Grill at pick, 4, whatever it may be. But we'll definitely have to wait and see. This is going to be a really interesting one. Could be a massive gamble by Essendon. I mean, as I said, if they believe there's 2 role players at 5 and 6, and they have the ability to trade for a star at Sullivan Roby at pick 3, I mean, you're probably going to do that, and that's why they're probably considering it. So, we'll have to all wait and see. This is going to be one that's going to come down to the wire. I don't think Richmond will accept it. I think they'd rather go for the star power, especially considering they've got 3 and 4. I do think if I was Richmond, I'd be taking Sullivan Roby and Sam Grill. I think both of those guys are the perfect players for them to take. But we'll definitely have to wait and see. It's going to be one that comes down to the wire. But yeah, as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment your thoughts and opinions on this all down below. If you guys like the video, if you agree with what I'm trying to say, or I don't know, who should make this trade. Again, I'd very much like to know. Don't forget to subscribe to my gaming/movie channel, which will be linked down below. My sports channel, which is this one. Go subscribe to, go follow me on Instagram. Sorry, links for them will be down below. But yeah, leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.